Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name's Faye. I'm one of the UFI staff working behind the scenes on today's webinar. Before we start, I'd just like to run through a couple of housekeeping items. If you're experiencing any audio problems, we do have a audio instructions document held in the handout section of the control panel. You can also drop us a line in the questions box, and one of us will come back to you with some help. Please also drop any questions you have for Mark in the questions box. We will be running a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, and we'll run through everything there. So thank you, everyone, and I'll now hand over to Mark. Thanks, Mark. Hi, Mark. I think you're still on mute.
Sorry about that, Faye. My audio just dropped out temporarily, but thank you. Thank you very much for introducing everything. Hello, everyone. Apologies, I'm not on video today. I've got a bit of a dodgy internet connection, so I'm just trying to keep the bandwidth as low as possible. While we just wait for one more minute to see if anyone else joins us, can you make sure you can get to the website that you're seeing on the screen in front of you? This is a place that we are going to be using a little bit today to communicate with each other, to share some ideas, and basically to interact with each other. So just check you can get to that. If you've got any questions, remember, put questions into the questions box, and then either myself or Faye will pick them up as we go along. So I'm just going to wait one more minute and make sure that everyone's okay. Right, okay, let's make a start. So hopefully you're at that that page, the online sticky notes page, and what I'd like you to do is, there are three questions at the top left. Who are you, where are you right now, and why are you here? That's a very existential question. You could be as deep as you want if in answering that. So to add a new sticky note, you press the add sign at the top, the plus sign at the top left, and just add the note, type into it, type your answer into it, and drag it somewhere on the board. So if you could do that now, if you've got problems with it, pop a note in the questions box and we'll see if we can solve the problems. But hopefully, let's give it a go. So press the plus sign, who are you, where are you right now, and why are you here? So for those that are just joining, if you can go to the website address that you're seeing on the screen, and we are answering the three questions at the top left of the board. Don't have to write an essay, just a very quick response. Who are you, where are you right now, and why are you here? Now, I'm not seeing anything coming up yet, so I'm hoping, I'm assuming that everything's okay. I'm not seeing any questions, any problems with it, so I'm just going to give you another few seconds. When you're ready, just click out of the sticky note, and then you'll be able to drag it anywhere on the screen, just like I've just done that one, which I will get rid of. Right, I'm not seeing anyone doing anything, which is very odd. Let me just check. Could you all, Here we go. I am on it, but I have not seen you. Okay, so I'm just going to share the screen with the sticky note, not that one. Where's it gone? Whoops. Screen with the sticky note, that one there. So that's what you should be seeing. And
Hi Mark, it's
I would
Faye.
share the URL. I'm afraid I can't. We don't have the abilities on this software to share the URL. Okay. I think we'll leave it. It doesn't seem to be working, so we shall leave that. Right. Here we go. Let's go back to the other screen, and we'll just work our way through. So, okay, Caroline, thank you. It does look like we're on a different page entirely. Let's go back. Right. So ignore that. It was an experiment that didn't work. So I'm going to carry on talking. As we work through, apologies for the noise in the background. As we work through, please ask your questions as we go along. I want this to be as interactive as possible, but it can't be interactive without you. So I need your questions, I need your comments, I need your thoughts, and you can add them in as we go along into the questions box. So just to introduce myself, I'm a consultant working with UFI. I am a mixture of a project manager and a solutions architect, and just a general all-round learning technology and digital learning consultant. So we'll leave that. I wanted to show you these resources I'm going to be recommending as we go through. There'll be links to this at the end as well. And so the first one, the Running Lean book, is my go-to place for anything to do with how to get a product up and running. So I highly recommend it. You can go to his website, and there'll be a link at the end, which gives you the first chapter of the book. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. It's really easy read, but very practical. The one on the top right, Roman Pichler's product vision board. Roman Pichler is an expert in product management. He creates a number of resources, lots of blog posts all about it, but this is one of the resources I use pretty much every time I'm talking to someone about the products that they're creating, and we'll talk a bit about that in a while. And then the third thing down the bottom right are the agile phases from the UK Government Service Manual. And this is, I'll be talking through these as well, because these are how I manage projects. And when you're creating a product, that, well, we'll talk about it in a bit, but when you're creating a product, you don't want to be planning everything up front and saying, this is exactly how we're going to do it. Do it in a much more iterative and agile way. And the service manual will be a really good guide to that. So I wonder how many people have been in this position. Certainly a number of people I've worked with have been. You have a great idea, not just a good idea, it's a great idea. You're going to create a product that does something amazing. So you build it, and then you see and you hope that someone will buy it. And my aim today is that you don't have to cross your fingers. That you actually know that someone is going to buy it when you build a product. So we're going to leave him behind because we don't want to be crossing our fingers. We want to actually know. So a few key principles for any sort of product creation. The first one, and most importantly, you need to know the customer. Now, the customer is often two groups of people. They are the people that are going to use it, and they are the people that are going to pay for it. And often then it's not the same group unless you're working in a business to consumer world. if you're working in any sort of business to business world, or a business to sort of a national government funded thing, or a local government funded thing, you're going to have two groups of customers: the people that pay for it and the people that will use it. You need to know both groups, because there's no point creating a product that someone will pay for if no one will use it, and there's no point in creating a product that people will use it if no one will pay for it. So you've got to really know them inside out, know what's driving them, know what is what the problems are that they're facing that you can solve with your product. And that leads me on to the second principle: understand the problem. And that's all about really knowing, again, in depth, what the problem is, how big the problem is, how often it occurs, when it occurs. And so then you can design your solution to fit. And I'm sure we've all done this. I've certainly done it, where you come up with a solution to a problem that actually doesn't exist, or might not exist in the same way that you thought existed. So it's always important to test your understanding of the problem. Third principle is to reduce the risks. Now, we go back to the guy we saw at the beginning, where you think of a product, you build it, but all the time the risks are mounting up, because you're investing lots and lots of money, lots of time, in the hope that someone's going to buy it, in the hope it's going to meet someone's needs, in the hope that it's going to answer a problem. So the aim, I would say, is to reduce the risks, reduce those hopes, reduce those assumptions into things that you know as quickly as possible. I'm actually working on a project at the moment where we're building a large system, but we're spending the first 6 months just focusing on our assumptions and dealing with the biggest assumptions, the biggest risks, making sure that those assumptions are validated before we even go on for the next year to build the product itself. And I've been in this situation so many times, where too many times, where a product has been built where we didn't validate those assumptions at the beginning. So what I'm saying to you is based on experience, and painful experience often. The fourth principle is to iterate. Iterate as rapidly as you can. And when I say iterate, what that means is you do something, you create something, you test it with the people that you're going to be using it, with the people that are going to be buying it, learn lessons, and then make changes to make sure that the product best meets their needs. So make those iteration cycles as short as possible, because every time you have a long iteration cycle, you're spending a lot of time building up risk. The shorter the iteration cycles, the lower the risks, the lower the money that you're spending. If you go to Ash Mariah's book, one of the things he says is that you need to have a product that will sell before the money runs out, that initial investment money. So the quicker you know that you're going to sell it, the better, because you need to have you know what I mean. I'm repeating myself. So, and then the final thing is to fail fast, to learn lessons quickly, and if it's time to stop, then you know quickly that it's time to stop. Now, a lot of you, I'm sure, will have come across Prince2 as a project management methodology. One of the things that Prince2 always says, that every phase boundary, every change from one phase of a project to another, you always check that you're still going to meet the aims of the project. You're still going to get the benefits that the project set out to achieve. Now, all I'm doing is saying, learn that lesson quicker. Often a phase in a Prince2 project, maybe a year, maybe 2 years long, whereas actually I'm saying 6 weeks, 2 weeks, something like that. Learn quickly, and so that you don't run out of money before you failed. And failing doesn't always mean stopping. It sometimes means pivoting, means changing direction entirely. And there are many products out there which are the result of a pivot, where a company has developed something and they've realized actually it's not going to fit, it's not going to work, but this will work instead. So they try that. There's no point flogging a dead horse, as we say in the UK. If you keep on going with a product that you're pretty sure is not going to work, then that's not a good idea. Any questions so far? Any thoughts? If you can just pop them into the questions box, that would be really helpful, and I'll share them with the rest of the group. Okay, I'm going to move on. Keep popping questions in as they come to you, or thoughts as they come to you, and we'll share them with the rest of the group. Apologies, we don't have a chat room that we can share together on. So I mentioned about validating assumptions, and what this diagram is trying to show is that the quicker we can validate our assumptions, the quicker we know that our product is going to fit the people that we're aiming it at. Now, I've split this into 4 phases: discovery, alpha, beta, and live. These are based on the government service manual, and I will talk about those in just a minute in a lot more detail. But the aim is really to get your assumptions validated mostly within the discovery and the alpha phases. The discovery is only 2, 3, 4 weeks long. Alpha maybe 6, 7, 8 weeks long, but get your assumptions validated as quickly as possible. Here we go. Someone has made a comment. Here we go. Is there an easier way? I'm not quite sure what you mean, Isu. You said it's a joke. There isn't an easier way. You need to get those assumptions validated, if that was what the question was referring to. If you don't validate those assumptions, you're running massive risks. Yeah, thanks, Isu. You said, what a shame. Or she said, not sure. So digging in a bit more detail about this, these different phases. So during the discovery phase, it's very short. It's all about checking that that initial idea is a good idea. And normally, when I'm doing it, it's about creating a single page product vision, which I'll show you in a moment, and then testing it with potential customers and users. And as you're testing it, you're also learning about those customers, learning about those users and the problems that they are having. And quite often you will find that the first one you create, people will say, what, why, no. And that's when you need to go back and you do another one. So these product visions are very quick, very dirty, and they have no refinement at all, but they are there to help you test ideas with people. So let's have a look at one. This is the product vision board, the basic version that Roman Pichler it makes available on his website. There is an extended version, which we'll talk about in a moment. I would say for the first one of these, first time you do it, don't spend more than 30 minutes in creating it. It's all words and bullet points, no pictures, don't spend a lot of time on it, because these vision boards are, they're disposable. You will expect to get rid of them and try new ones and keep trying new ones. But that 30 minutes is a very low risk way of testing out ideas. Now, I use these product vision boards when I have an idea of a product or a service that I could offer, or a new way of doing things. And often I'm just using it to test with me. First of all, does it actually work with me? And then if I think it works with me, then I'll take it out to someone else and test it with them. So the first bit in the vision board is, what's your purpose? Why are you doing it? What's it actually going to, what benefit is it going to bring to people? And then there are 4 more columns to fill in. So you need to jot down some notes about who it's actually for. What's this product for? Who it's going to be? Who are going to be the customers, the people that pay? Who are going to be the users? And then think about, okay, what needs does this product solve? And these are brilliant questions to answer with other people, because by doing that, you're understanding more about the needs that your product's going to solve, or the needs that people have that you could solve with products. Then you start thinking about, okay, what's the product that you're actually thinking you might create? What makes it different from anything else that's already out there on the market? So then you have to do a little bit of research to make sure you know what's out there. And then, is it feasible? Is it going to be cost too much? Do I have the skills? Do I know the right people? Doesn't it make sense to actually do this? I have loads of ideas for products and services that it's totally unfeasible for me to create. It would require maybe a huge team with skills that I don't have, and I don't know anyone that does have. But they're still great ideas, but then it's not going to work. It's not going to fly. So as soon as I get to that question, that forces me to think and stop and fail fast. And then finally, how is this product actually going to help you, your company, your organization? Does it fit the business goals? And again, it's very easy for organizations to have lots of product ideas, but if they don't fit the overall business goals of the organization, then they're not really going to fly unless you hive it off and put it somewhere else so it's separate from the organization. But you usually want it to align really nicely to your business goals. The last 4 things that I've just put down here, these come from the extended version of the product vision board. They are the next stage on. So once you've got the basic 5 boxes filled in, and you've got some decent feedback, and you've got an idea that this might work, then you start needing to think about your competitors in a bit more detail, where the money is going to come from, where are the costs going to come from, and how you're going to get it to the people that will benefit from it. How are you going to get it to market? But we're not going to go into that. So then we move into the alpha phase. So discovery is a few weeks work at most. Alpha is maybe a couple of months to 6 months work, a couple of months ideally, 6 months if it's going to be a really big, long project. And during the alpha stage, you need to be thinking about the riskiest assumptions. So hopefully during the discovery phase, you will have identified some of those risky assumptions, and you start prioritizing, and in alpha, you test them. And the way to test them is to create prototypes. Now, these prototypes are throwaway things again. They are little snapshots of bits of a product, or bits of a system, or bits of the thing that you're going to be creating that you can take to people and say, does this work? Or even just try internally and say, does this work? So that, for example, the project I'm working on at the moment, there's a lot of really complex new technical ideas that have been used to build this new product. And they had to test that those ideas were going to work. Some of them we found don't work. So we've either gone and tried different ways, or we're just not doing it. Some of them do work, which is great. And each time we try to create a prototype, try and see what works. And if it doesn't, you drop it or change. And then in the alpha phase, you need to start thinking about and defining what is your minimum viable product. What's the smallest product that you can create that someone will pay for? That's my definition. There are a number of other definitions of minimum viable product, or MVP. And so work out what's going to work for you. But the aim for me for a minimum viable product is something that you will have initially that you can then actually will make a difference to a paying customer. So at the moment, you're defining it, and hopefully you're looking for someone that will pay for that, that will run with you. as you're creating the product, it's really, really helpful to have someone outside your organization, someone who's going to be paying for this, that is helping you create the product. So if you design it in isolation, if you design it in a silo, it's going to be really hard when you get to actually having a product to sell. It's going to be really hard to prove that it's going to bring a benefit to people. So having someone alongside you, someone who's going to be a customer, who's helping you co-create, is a fantastic way of working. Here's an example of a prototype, something that I just created very quickly. Remember, as I said, say at the top right here, prototypes are designed to be thrown away. It's very rare that a prototype actually becomes the final product. I've put a link down the bottom of this slide, which you'll be able to get. You'll see that in the resources list at the end as well. That's a list from the government user experience designers, all about prototyping. Lots of tips on how to do good prototyping. Now, the example you're seeing here was built in a tool called Balsamic Mockups. There are lots of tools like that. It's deliberately very low fidelity. There are no colors, there's no branding. It's just showing layout and structure and the process, the journey that a user would take through a product. It's a really good way of testing your ideas without getting hung up on, oh, I don't like the color, or oh, the branding's all wrong, we can't use that. That can come later. The important thing is, does this make a difference for the end user? Now, a lot of organizations will start with just using paper or using PowerPoint to do that. Paper is actually probably one of the best ways. I went to the Government Digital Services office once, and all around the office, and this is a huge open plan office in London, there were just reams and reams of bits of paper with sticky notes on them, with little diagrams, hand-drawn diagrams showing how things might work. And then they take those diagrams to potential users and test them out. So it's about doing things in a low risk way without spending a lot of time on it and testing those ideas. And you gradually get those ideas more and more high fidelity as you start getting ready for building it for real. And that's when we move into the beta stage. Beta is where we actually create that minimum viable product. Be careful, because it's very easy for the scope to grow. You've defined your minimum viable product during the alpha stage. You've got to have really good reasons to add to that in beta. Beta is about scaling it and growing it, finding more customers that will co-create with you and keep on validating those ideas. But remember, it is iterative. You can stop, you can pivot, you can change, but the aim is still to get something out there as quickly as possible that people will pay for, because you need to start getting money back for the product. One of I'm going to mention a couple of ideas, a couple of ways that you can use to prioritize things. And so this one that you're seeing on the left, must have, should have, could have, or won't have, often abbreviated to MOSCOW, M-O-S-C-O-W, is a very, very common way to say what's going to be in the first version. So must have are the things you absolutely have to have, otherwise no one's going to buy it. Should have are the things that, well, okay, let's put them in if we've got time, because they're really important, but then probably might come a little bit later. Could have other things that are less important and will almost definitely come later. And the won't have are the things that we definitely are out of scope for this first iteration, for the minimum viable product. And each time you have an iteration, you can use this MOSCOW format to decide what's going to be in it and what's going to be out of it. The other tool that I've used a number of times is this one here, where you map the things that are high value, or things that are with their value against the effort it takes to build them. And so the link at the top is where I got this from. You can get that from the resources side as well. So things that are high value and won't take very much effort in the top left. So why aren't you doing this now? These are the real low-hanging fruits, as some people call them. The things that, well, let's just do it. There's no reason not to do it. If it's high value but it's going to be high effort, then split it into smaller pieces. So each piece becomes a lower effort. That's the key thing. So you can start moving pieces over to the left. If it's high effort but low value, well, then don't even bother thinking about it for the moment. At some point, it might be worth it, but not for now. If it's low value and low effort, then it might be something you do on a Friday afternoon when you're just winding down, you're just looking for something to fill some time. So the article that I've linked to there is a really useful article. It explains how to use that prioritization matrix. It's a really clear and very nice method that they've given to you, so I recommend it highly. And then finally, on the process side of things, you move to live. You've delivered your minimum viable product. You continue to get feedback. Just because you've delivered something doesn't mean it's finished. Live is about improving, iterating, and scaling up. There was a very good advice I read ages ago. Can't remember where it came from now, where it said, whenever you start out on a new project, in a new company or a new product, get something out the door as quickly as possible, and it doesn't really matter how it's all held together or whether it works quickly or efficiently. Just get something out there that works. You can always make it more efficient, make it quicker, make it cheaper later. So that you can think about that in all sorts of contexts. For example, let's say you wanted to build a timesheet tool for people to record their timesheets. So you could start off very simply with a spreadsheet, and you get people to either fill in their own spreadsheet or fill in a shared spreadsheet. It won't be very efficient, particularly if people are doing their own spreadsheets, because someone then has to collate it all. But you'll learn loads through that prototyping exercise. You'll learn masses, and then as you understand what things people need from this timesheet tool, then you can start making it more efficient. You could move from single spreadsheets to a shared spreadsheet. You can think about how to lock things down so people can only edit their own bits. You can then start thinking about actually turning it into a computer program that allows you to collect data. You can then start to improve it, and you keep iterating it, and you keep making it so it will scale. So live isn't a finished product. Live is the next stage of the new product. And actually, once you're in live, quite often you end up going back through the discovery alpha beta for new things that you're adding to the product. So discovery alpha beta isn't just to get you started, it's also part of the ongoing process of creating a product. Any questions before we move on to the last little bits? No, okay. So just to finish off with, the idea is that we start with something that works, something that delivers value. That little square there has delivered some value to someone. And then as you get more feedback and you do more research, you can start adding more value. You can start adding more functions. You can make things quicker. You can make things more efficient. And you keep on adding more and more value as you get more and more feedback and do more and more research. It's an ongoing process, as I've said. before. So that's the end of my little talk. If you've got any questions, please feel free to pop them here or get in touch with me. I'm on LinkedIn, as the link is up there. All the resources are here. I'm going to put them on my blog later on as well, so you can get to them from there. Apologies for the hiccup with the note board at the beginning. I'm not quite sure what was going on there, but it was a bit of an experiment. We were prototyping, so we'll hopefully make that better for next time. Any questions before we finish?
Hey Mark, it's Faye. There's no questions at the moment. So if I just run through upcoming webinars with the audience, and then I'll hand back to you for the sign off. So yes, we have the week of VocTech coming up next week. So it's a free program of online events for anyone to join. What I'll do is I'll put a link to the website in the follow-up email that will go out to everyone tomorrow. So you'll be able to have a look through to see what events are coming up next week. We've also got the next how-to webinar with Patrick Dunn scheduled for next Tuesday at 2:30. And that's on how to design and deliver blended learning. So it'd be great to see any of you there. So I'm just waiting to see if there's any more questions coming in for Mark before we sign off. I can't see anything yet, Mark.
Okay, so, in which case we'll leave it there then, I think.
That's great. Thanks ever so much.
That's great.
And
thank you everyone. Yeah, sorry, Faye. Thank you everyone for joining us. I hope it was useful.
That's great. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.